As healthcare moves away from traditional fee-for-service models, providers need a strategy to stay competitive. That's where Strategic Healthcare Partners comes in. We offer expert consulting and ongoing management oversight for providers looking to form an accountable care organization. From financial feasibility analysis to helping you choose the right ACO in a crowded market, SHP provides the clarity you need to make informed decisions and transition to value-based care. Learn more at shpllc.com. Hello, it's Jason Crosby with SHP. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Stethoscope, Vital Conversations with SHP. Today we have a quick conversation with our very own Aaron Higgins, who's going to recap some of the highlights from the recent 2025 final ruling that just came out. Opportune wording there being quick conversation. If you know Aaron, he can kind of go on and on, but he's going to give it a shot. How you doing, Aaron?
I'm pretty good, and I resemble that remark, Jason. Most certainly. Yeah. So every year at the end of the year, everybody gets excited because something big and fat will drop into our laps every Thanksgiving. And that is not Santa Claus. It's the QPP final rule. Well, it's bundled into all of the CMS final rules for the year, starting the next calendar year, so 2025. Every year, there's always changes to MIPS, to the quality payment program overall. And kind of one of the bigger shifts that we've seen the last couple of years is that CMS has really just started to call it all QPP because they do all these other changes, not just MIPS. But, you know, every year we've done some kind of big podcast or show and tell about the changes. Well, this year we're going to try it a little bit different. So yes, challenge accepted, Jason. I'm going to try to keep this very short and just the highlights. And in our show notes, we will link to all the sources for this, so you can go dive deeper if you need to. Okay, so I think the biggest thing that folks need to be aware of is that CMS is really sticking to that performance threshold. So that performance threshold means you need to score 75 points or greater to avoid penalty. If you score exactly 75 points, you get 0, so you don't get a penalty, you don't get any sort of reward. 75 points is still the goal. To aid in that, because some people are still struggling, particularly with some specialty types really finding good measures, they are changing the way measures get topped out. So previously, measures that were topped out, because everybody was doing it, were only earning you 3 points in the quality category. And that made it really challenging. You would have to submit a whole lot more measures to get to your full quality. So now it's scaled. The details of that scaling is in the document that we're going to link to in the show notes. It's kind of complicated. You have to go and look at it. You can now earn up to 10 points, but you have to earn 100% on those measures. So if you do participate in a topped out measure, you can get more points. That's good. It's going to help you with hitting your overall performance threshold of 75 points overall. Data completeness also isn't changing. What data completeness means is the percentage of patients seen and you recorded their data, regardless of what type of patient it is. And they have that set at 75%. They are maintaining that through 2028. They had talked about 100%, and they've scaled that back down to 75%. Managed care contracting does not have to be a hassle. At Strategic Healthcare Partners, we specialize in negotiating and managing contracts with payers, ensuring you receive your fair reimbursement for the services you provide. Don't get shortchanged. Let SHP handle the tough negotiations so you can focus on your patients. Learn more at shpllc.com.
You know, another topic that continuously comes up every year with this are MVPs, right? So what new ones are coming out for the 25 performance period? And then what changes have been made to existing MVPs, Aaron?
Yeah, so the MVPs, the MIPS Value Pathways, is the way the whole MIPS program is evolving. By 2028, so 3 years from now, everybody will be moving from what's called traditional MIPS over to the MVPs. To facilitate that, CMS is rolling out new MVPs. Now, MVPs all slightly different from each other, but they're essentially 4 quality measures that you have to do: promoting interoperability, what they are calling a population health measure, and then the cost measures that are associated with your specialty. The nice thing about the MVPs is that it takes away the huge smorgasbord of options that can be overwhelming to a practice. They're also scaled appropriately for a practice of different sizes, so 15 or fewer clinicians, so small practices and that sort of thing. So they are introducing some new MVPs. Again, all of this will be linked in the show notes. They are also making some modification to the existing MVPs, such as advancing cancer care and advancing care for heart disease. They've gone back and they've retooled some of those metrics within. So if you've done an MVP in the past or are interested in doing that, getting away from the traditional MIPS line, I highly recommend taking a look at the MVPs for 2025. You have until late 2025 to decide between the two of them. But even then, there's a little catch. They are now allowing you to submit both traditional MIPS and MVPs in your transition year, and then they will give you your score based off of which one performs better. So if you want to go to all that extra effort, you can. Unless you're a large practice, I don't see a lot of benefit for it.
To piggyback adding and revising of measures, tell us what new quality measures have been added and those that have been removed for 25, and then what changes have been made to existing ones as well.
Yeah, so we have 7 new quality measures. They are all mostly focused around chemotherapy. Unless you're in the chemotherapy world, the cancer world, these measures aren't probably going to apply to you. They have removed 10 measures. Again, all these are going to be in the show notes. This is a quick conversation. I'm not going to dive into them. And they have made a substantive change to 66 of them. So just like every year, if you've already picked your measures, you're really comfortable with these, you're doing well at them, go back and make sure they haven't been changed. Sometimes they've substantively changed some very popular measures, and people who are doing well one year are doing terrible the next. Looking at some of these changes, they're for the better, and should help you perform better in those measures. And kind of pivoting on the measures is improvement activities. Now, the changes they've made to improvement activities, they've introduced 2 new ones. They've modified 1, and then they have removed a total of 4. Now, those 4 that they have removed are actually very popular. In fact, one of them is extremely popular, and that is the availability of your EHR 24/7, 365. The reason why CMS removed it is because A, everybody was doing it, and B, it was too easy. Essentially, if you have remote access to your EHR, and let's be honest, who doesn't these days, you could qualify for saying you did this improvement activity. CMS knows this, and so they've removed it. So if you were banking on this improvement activity, I'm sorry, you're going to have to change it up for next year. But another thing too with the improvement activities, just to kind of pivot, they've done away with the medium and high weighting. Now, if you are a small practice, so 15 or fewer clinicians, you only have to pick 1 improvement activity. If you are not a small practice, you have to pick 2. Now, there's some other criteria too that allow you to pick 1 if you qualify for that. Take a look again in the show notes.
All right, shifting gears, reporting of the electronic clinical measures. How will the new complex organization adjustment affect APM entities, virtual groups, and such?
Well, first off, CMS knows that complex patients are more expensive. They also have seen a trend amongst ACOs and other advanced payment models shedding their specialty groups because their specialty groups were dragging down the average score. CMS doesn't like that. They see a problem with it, so they are adjusting the scoring methodology to reward organizations that keep the complex patients, that keep the more expensive patients that have more expensive payments in their ACOs. So if you're in a part of an ACO that's talking about dropping the specialty groups and you're a specialty, talk to your ACO, talk to your APM, see how will the changes to scoring affect their decisions going forward. But this will be for the 2027 year. So even though the performance year is 25, there's not any benefit seen until 2027. So that still may make some APMs want to shed some of their specialties out of that. And we've seen that, Jason. We've seen some bigger ACOs dropping specialties altogether. And CMS is trying to stem the tide of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. When QPP first started out, cost was that sort of gray area folks weren't sure about. So what changes have been made to the cost measure scoring methodology for the 24 period and beyond?
Well, it is still a mystery wrapped in an enigma. The cost category is receiving some changes. Again, CMS is revising their methodologies, adjusting the formulas a little bit, making it a little easier for practices to achieve, because they know it's one of those things that's completely out of the practice's control 95% of the time. So they are making some adjustments there based off of feedback that they've received, as well as the performance that they've done in the past. So they're also introducing some new measures over there. So hopefully that will make it easier for practices to achieve the cost measures.
You know what? We've kind of run up on time. We call this a quick conversation for a reason. Aaron, you did a fantastic job. I gotta say, I'm impressed. That's probably the most condensed conversation we have ever had, but impressive. But awesome info as usual. And to our listeners, as Aaron said at the beginning, we'll put a bunch of information in the show notes. You'll find everything you need there, and you know how to find us. If you need any QPP info, don't contact me, contact Aaron. You'll find all our info on shpllc.com. Aaron,
Alrighty.
Thanks for the quick conversation.
Hey, you too. We'll talk to you later.
All right, bye-bye.
This has been an episode of Beyond the Stethoscope, Vital Conversations with SHP. Your hosts today have been me, Aaron Higgins.
And me, Jason Crosby. This is a production of Strategic Healthcare Partners. Our executive producers are Mike Scribner and John Crew.
Our editor is Nyla Weeb.
And our social media manager is Jeremy Miller with Boost by Design. Transcription by a robot and tweaked by me, a human, Jason Crosby.
You can visit our podcast archive on our website, shpllc.com/podcast. And there you can learn more about the services and products offered by SHP.
You can also find us on social media, including Facebook and LinkedIn, where you can send us questions and even leave comments about this episode.
Thank you for listening, and we look forward to visiting with you on our next episode. You already know that understanding your data is key to improving patient outcomes and financial performance. But how? At Strategic Healthcare Partners, our analytics services help turn your EMR and other data sources into actionable insights. From identifying areas for improvement to guiding you through implementing changes, SHP supports you every step of the way. Our performance analytics service dives even deeper, providing custom reports that help you stay ahead in the transition to value-based care. Unlock your data's full potential with SHP. Learn more at shpllc.com.